Another video. In this video, we're going to be driving the GLI, which is really exciting because I've never driven a GLI. I've actually never driven a Jetta until today. I apologize for the 3. We can't do much about that right now. This is a dealership car. With that said, also, this is a dealership car. It is not my vehicle, so we're not going to be going crazy today, but we will test a little bit of the capabilities out, but nothing crazy. So, all right, so we'll get right into it. We're in sport mode, and yeah, wow, it picks up. The DSG is very, very responsive. I will say that. It shifts instantly, and you kind of really don't even notice that it shifts. That's how instantaneous it is. This is a really, really nice riding car. I drove it obviously over here, and I kind of got a good initial impression. And it's riding on 18-inch wheels. This is, of course, the GLI Autobahn too. That really doesn't change much about the ride, but again, 18-inch wheels. And yeah, driving position wise, it's really, really nice. I have really good visibility. I don't really have any blind spots at all. Of course, that is the trait. It's a pro of the driving a sedan around. One of the things you'll notice right away when you're in the sport mode is the pumped in sound. It honestly sounds really, really good. I don't see myself like wanting to turn it off unless I got super sick of it, but it does sound good. It has a nice rumble to it, and honestly kind of sounds like a Boxster Subaru a little bit, maybe even a 5-cylinder. That's kind of stretching a little bit, but I mean, it sounds really good. And the DSG shifts are really, really nice. Again, it reminds me a lot of my 6-speed DSG. This gearbox is really, really responsive though. This is, of course, the 7-speed. A lot of people have issues with the 7-speed, and I honestly don't have, I don't see what the problemo is. I think it's quite responsive. It doesn't lurch. In fact, it honestly feels like it lurches less than mine did before, obviously, doing all the tuning and stuff. But overall, I mean, drivability is really nice. If you put it into its normal setting, so we'll even go in eco mode. We'll try that out. Eco mode. So again, very windy day. You're going to hear a little bit of wind, but again, we're going 40 miles an hour, and there's really not much wind noise as far as what the car's creating, and there's not much road noise, which is really nice. A sports car with no road noise is a really nice car. Again, this is one of those cars it's hard to say which one's better than the GTI, the GLI, or which one is better, the GLI or the GTI, and it's really hard to say because they both do such great things. They're very similar too. They are honestly the same exact car. I want to say this is just a little bit heavier and maybe doesn't feel as peppy as the GTI stock, but honestly, it does feel quite good. Of course, this doesn't have the adaptive dampers, so the suspension mode that you have is going to be the suspension mode you're stuck with, which is not a bad thing. It is a good, comfortable car. It doesn't really need a very aggressive adaptive suspension, but again, it's a nice ride. It reminds me a lot of the GTI. One of my favorite traits, though, I will say, that kind of separates a little bit from a GTI is the screen being up here. I'm not looking down anymore. It's very unusual to do that. They kind of swapped everything. The climate control is now like, it's kind of always been low, but the screen is now high. The fans are now down there. And I'm a big fan. I like it. Big fan. But of course, we have the performance monitor up here. I'm not looking down to see everything, so I can kind of just get a good idea just by looking at that. So that's really nice. I don't have to look down. It's just right at my side. So, and that's also goes for like changing the mode. You don't have to like look down. Everything's kind of at your eye. This is, in my opinion, a little bit more driver focused than the GTI, and maybe that's just because of just this whole section. It's more angled towards you, and the screen is, again, right up here. It makes it just it's so nice. I really, really like that. So I'm a big fan of it, and maybe this is, I mean, there's obviously different qualities that the GTI has over this. It might be a little bit faster. It has more options like the adaptive suspension, but the GLI is I definitely would not call it the underdog in this situation. This is definitely a really, really good package. But yeah, sport mode feels like sport mode. It's this thing picks up a lot more. The drivetrain feels a little bit different. Of course, we have that engine pumped in sound, which honestly sounds pretty okay. It doesn't sound super natural, just because I'm used to it with the GTI, but it honestly does sound pretty cool, and it kind of gives a really sporty feel with this car, which is kind of nice. I'm gonna try one last pull. Wow, yeah, it picks up real good. So yeah, this is an awesome car. I think the way everything's packaged is really nice. I don't really have any complaints about it. I'm not a sedan guy. I love hatches, but at the same time, it's just such a good car, and a lot of it is good because it shares so much with the GTI, but it has its own little flair as well, and I honestly really like it. They are very similar, but they also have very different things about them as well. So that's something just to keep in mind. It honestly boils down to, are you a sedan or hatch guy? You have to test them both side by side, but in my opinion, I love hatches. I think this is a really, really good driver-oriented car. I think it's a little bit more so than the GTI. I like all the tech that this one has over the GTI. This digital cockpit is really nice. So, yeah, but overall, what a package. This is one sweet ride. And yeah, I really don't have any issues with it. I can't find any complaints. Everything's super easy to use. The buttons are all laid out really easy. And yeah, it's honestly one of the best cars that you could buy. And that obviously goes with the GTI as well. It's a perfect best of both world car because it has the performance, and it has obviously that ease of drivability. So I really like this car. It's a comfortable car. The seats are really nice. They do hug you in plenty fine. I did say that they weren't as aggressive bolstered as the GTI. However, that's not a problem. They are still really, really comfortable, and like I said before, also it can accommodate more size people. So yeah, so that's a benefit, honestly, and I really, really do like this car. I think it's set up really nicely. The performance is there. It's a good car. So anyway, we'll park it up. You guys can kind of get an idea what parking this thing is like. And yeah, so we have our screen. It is, I think, the older camera. It's just more blown out now because of the bigger screen. And I don't think it's a bad screen, honestly. I think it's pretty good quality for what it is. I mean, it is the Jetta, so it is kind of going to be the underdog in the situation. But yeah, I really do like this car. I can't think of really many cons aside from, obviously, it's not, you know, that insane performance like a Golf R. It's pretty on par with the GTI, with, I said before, the GTI being maybe a hair quicker.